Hello, 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 everyone. I am the Avatar, aka Sugar and Spice. I'm super jacked on coffee, so I'm gonna try to calm down as I teach this class, but hey, whatever. Anyway, I'm really, really excited, and I love meditation. I really do. I don't want to say addicted, but I'm just like an avid fan of meditation. Um, so that's always the topic that I really have to drill into your heads first. But my favorite class that I've been looking forward to since I even thought of teaching tarot was this one, 2.2. So tarot level 2, lesson number 2, surrender and trust. Because most people that reach out to me on Twitter or social media, they're always like, hey, I saw an animal or I saw this number. Was it a sign? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Did it feel like a sign? They're like, yes. And I'm like, then it was probably a sign. If you went through your whole day and waited until you got home from work and then you went all the way to type in sugar and spice on your little search list and then you DM'd me to ask me, if you felt that strongly about something random that you saw or seemingly random that you saw throughout your day, I'm going to go ahead and confidently say that yes, it's a sign because you carried it with you all day, duh. But that's what trust and surrender is. It's being certain about what you know and also being certain about what you don't know and holding both of those things with sacredness. And the thing with tarot is in the whole history of tarot, there has never been a tarot master. Let's reiterate. There has never been a tarot master. No one who has ever touched a tarot deck has claimed to have mastered the art of tarot. Meaning, you are never going to know all that there really is to know about tarot. And as you begin to read intuitively, these decks, these cards, the death card is going to mean something different to you every time you pull it. And it just is what it is. So, how do we learn trust and surrender? That is what I'm going to teach you today. And I'm really excited because it's really easy for me to teach you something and challenging for y'all to learn and practice. But out of all the classes, I think the first two, meditation and trust and surrender, are really the ones that I have to drive home. I have to drive home for you guys because to surrender doesn't necessarily mean Jesus take the wheel all the time. To surrender just means to be 100% okay saying, I don't know. And trust, well, what kind of tarot reader are you if you can't trust your own messages? You know what I mean? All right, so let's talk about the do's and don'ts of trust and surrender. Because I know it's so much easier for us to take a large abstract concept that is so subjective and can't be quantified like trust and faith. We really try our best to make it tangible somehow, so I made a list just to help us out. Okay, so do's or don'ts. I'm reading from my notes again, so if you see me looking off to the side, it's fine. There is no appropriate method to teach or prepare one for surrender. Okay, meaning it's something you just do without any baby steps. Like there's no, you either go to the doctor or you don't type of energy. You know what I mean? That like there's no real method or step of preparation. It's something you just decide to do, which I know can be the bane of our anxious existence, you know, because we live in capitalism. So we're like, we have to know the answer. And if we don't know the answer, we're not working hard enough. But that's not always true. Sometimes it's not us that has to change. Sometimes it's the environment around us that has to catch up to the way we've changed so that we feel more accommodated by that or by our circumstance. So that's the part where you kind of take your own ego out of the equation and you kind of get over yourself. You're like, oh, maybe it isn't something I'm not doing enough of. Maybe it's not something slacking in. Maybe I'm not talented enough. Maybe it's just not the right time for me to deliver this answer. Maybe the tarot's like, shh, like don't tell her. So yeah. That's where I was going with that. Anyway, all right. So this is where you find out whether you'll be a great reader or a bare minimum reader. I am gonna say that with my whole fucking chest. I'm gonna repeat that. Trust and surrender is where you differentiate between the mediocre and the great. Because it's just the ultimate. It's the ultimate show of, rather show, it's the ultimate statement that you are ready to take on this lifestyle. And it's a lifestyle, because to choose tarot is not something that you can put away and bring it back when you want to, especially when you don't learn from the book and you're learning instead to exercise your intuition. Intuition transcends your tarot deck. Whether you have it or not, you're gonna just know shit, and you're gonna be in tune with the way you feel. So choosing to pay attention to your intuition and to really grow and exercise it means that you're going to choose your intuition and incorporate it into your material life. Whether you're conscious of it or unconscious of it, it's going to play a factor. And it's a consistent choice. It's not something that you choose one time where you're just like, yes, today I'm going to be intuitive. It's something that you choose consistently in every moment. And if that seems exhausting, it's because it is sometimes. But the rewards are great, especially for the effort. The more you put into this class, the more you get out of it, I promise. So yeah, surrender requires full commitment with little guarantee. It is a test of complete faith, and the only way to do it is to commit 100%, even with zero guarantees. I know this is asking a lot, because we have a lot to lose. I know that. But when I tell you to please just give it a shot because it's worth it, I really mean that. I quit my job March, I think I announced it March 20th, but I quit like March 17th or something to do tarot full time. Because I had previously quit my job at a law firm. I was like, I don't want to work here anymore. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, but now I want to do something else. So I manifested a job that I thought was perfect for me. I got to write speeches. I got to travel and write for social media and Instagram. That was like my whole job. And it was for a women's company. So I thought that's what I wanted. I went to Vegas, Texas, like all kinds of places. And I was literally partying with a bunch of rich people at the Caesars Palace in Vegas when I was like, I can't believe I manifested this and it's still not enough. Like, I'm not happy. I'm not having a good time. In January, when I quit my original job at the law firm, something told me I needed to do tarot full time and take it seriously. But I was like, you're crazy, Denise. So I took the job with this women's organization instead, where I got to travel and stuff. And literally a month in, I was like, I fucking hate this. This is miserable. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But I don't know what to do. I just got here. I don't want to have to go through the interview process, and I don't want to wait to go through the interview process. I hate it. So I quit. I quit because I knew tarot was calling me. I knew I could do it. I knew I could do it in January, but it wasn't until March that I was just like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to trust my gut, and I know God's not going to let me down. That was my ultimate test of faith, where I quit my job. And I mean, you know, I'm in debt. I'm a college student. It is what it is. Or I just graduated. So I was like, fuck, like, I don't have any, you know, I don't have any backup plans. I definitely don't have any savings. But I quit anyway. And that was my ultimate statement to the universe, where I was like, look, if you give me an undeniable fucking sign that I need to quit and do tarot full time, I'll quit tomorrow. That night, I had a dream where I looked at my phone, and the time on it was 33:22, a time that does not exist. So as soon as I woke up, that was the only thing I remembered about my dream. And I like Googled, I was like, angel number 3322. And what it said was basically, it's time to step into higher service. You're being called to something else. And I was like, all right, there's my sign. I quit that day. So when it comes to surrender and faith, it's something you don't prepare for. It's something you just do, and you do consistently. And you don't have to be as dramatic as me, where I was like, I'm quitting my whole job and earning a new lifestyle. That's just how I operate. But you can start with consistent baby steps. Ask for a sign. Ask for confirmation. When I say that spirit does not get tired of repeating itself to you, it doesn't. But you have to kind of, be respectful and give it a break. If you get a sign that is undeniable, if you're like, I want to see a red car if the answer is yes, and you see 4 red cars in a row and you still decide to do no, what are you doing at that point? You got what you asked for. Now it's just about doing. So with this lifestyle, it's really about applying the wisdom of the tarot. The more you apply what you deliver to your client, the more insightful you become because you lived that experience. I was the Hanged Man. I was the Fool energy in that moment. And now I'm that 10 of Pentacles energy teaching it to you guys. So it was the best thing I ever did. So please, 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 just go. Just do it. And that's why I say it's the easiest to teach, the hardest to learn, to apply this wisdom. So let's get to the do's and don'ts. Now, okay, that was like the broad trust and surrender. Now I'm going to relate it back to tarot. I'm going to bring it back down, make it a little less dramatic. Alrighty, so let's see what I've already covered. Surrender to not knowing and you will know more. This is true. When I stopped looking for answers, I ironically got more. I don't know. Surrender to suffering and you will suffer less. Surrender to knowing that shit's gonna pop off every now and then when you're like, all right, fuck it, like hit me with your best shot, you find that no shot ever comes. So the longer you resist, the more your problem persists. Sometimes it's just about rolling with the punches and then finding that you don't get punched at all, and you're like, oh, great, what a pleasant surprise. But again, don't resist. Surrender. The more you resist, the more it persists. Again, what you resist persists. Relating that back to the concept of meditation, I told you guys, it's unrealistic for us to, from the jump, strive to clear our mind entirely and silence it, because we just don't live that way in our Western societies. It's just not realistic. But I did say, allow your mind to do whatever it wants. And after 3 days of your mind overworking itself to death for no reason, except that you're just sitting there, your mind by itself decides to quiet down. It's a very natural progress. So instead of resisting what you're afraid of, surrender yourself to suffering. Just be like, all right, fuck it, this is gonna hurt. And then you find that it doesn't, because you stopped resisting. It actually hurts you more when you resist. So relating that to tarot. To trust yourself as a tarot reader, you must first trust yourself as a human being. Follow the signs, all of them, as the Fool card would. So how does this relate to tarot? Follow your eyes. They say seeing is believing. So when you're looking at a spread, when you're looking at a specific card, follow your eyes and take note of where they go at first. Because like I said, we have a tiny window of opportunity at the beginning of our readings to catch our first instinct before our mind says that we're wrong, that we're fucking up, that we're being too arrogant, thinking that we know everything. In that split second, notice where your eyes go, because they don't always go to the same place on the card. Within readings, follow your eyes. What's the first thing that your eye is drawn to on the card? What do you hear? What do you feel? There is a message in it. You will feel it and you will think it before you hear it. Meaning, we want our tarot cards to communicate via words so bad, because that's how we communicate. But that's not necessarily how it works. Spirit is actually going to use words most of the time as the last method of communication. First, Spirit is going to show you, and Spirit's going to make you feel it. If the Death card really does give you that gloom and impending doom type of feeling, you got to deliver it that way, because that's what you felt. Sometimes the Death card gives me like type partying type of vibes, and that's because I know it's a glow up. Again, I use the Death card because it's so hyped up and dramatic. But again, it's about noticing the way you feel and noticing what you see before what you hear. Either way, we have a tiny split second, so catch whatever the hell comes to you. In the split seconds within sleep and awake, some of the most brilliant and profound ideas have been discovered and lost. Likewise, your first instinct is always right. You have a split second to catch it before your lack of faith, your need to logic and reason that which cannot be reasoned, though that which cannot be reasoned through convinces you that you are wrong. Messages that come in this split second do not come from you. They come from above you and therefore are never wrong. Let's reiterate that. Messages do not come from you. Sit and marinate that. Take yourself out of the equation for a second. The same message is going to come through for me as it is for you, no matter who the reader is, so long as the question is the same. Maybe it'll be different cards, but the message and the sentiments will always be the same. So we really, with trust and surrender, we really have to stop looking at ourselves as, I need to be the most specific reader. I need to be the most accurate reader. Let's move away from being accurate and move more towards being helpful. So let's take our ego out of it, because trust and surrender really is about looking at yourself in the grander tapestry of life. Like, who are you as a tarot reader? You can be all of those things, but not if you're striving for it. Like I said, the more you surrender to not knowing, the more you know. The more you surrender the expectation to be the most accurate, to be the most legendary, you become the most legendary. Like, hello, I'm like a super popular girl on Twitter for no fucking reason, because I'm literally like, woo, all the time. So again, the less you actively try to reach some sort of unrealistic standard, the more the things that you want just come to you. That and meditation. Again, I'm gonna drill that the whole course. Meditation. All right. So messages don't come from you. Remember that. They come from somewhere very much above us, and that place knows a lot more about us and about our client and about the plan for our lives and the plan for our lives within the context of humanity. So the more you surrender to the fact that you are not where these messages are coming from, you get higher and higher and deeper and more profound messages when you take your own ego out of it. Now, I'm not saying, kill your ego completely. I mean, it helps if you can, but I haven't. But what I am saying is, don't put that responsibility on yourselves. Know that you have help. Know that these messages don't come from you. So you don't have to feel personally responsible for how accurate or how specific that they get. If the tarot wants to be broad, the tarot is going to be broad. It doesn't matter. So let's release these expectations of ourselves. Now, be willing to be wrong. Trial and error. Take the keywords and expand on them. Couple it with what you know of the traditional meanings of the cards. There is no other way to prepare to learn this. You learn by catching that information and taking a chance on it. Just do it and deliver it, and you'll see how easy and miraculous it is. So, again, this class is designed for people that are either already reading for themselves or already reading for other people. Like I said, there's no method of preparation for trust and surrender except to just do it. So we're going to practice that later on. I'm going to ask a couple questions, and I want you guys to catch whatever feeling, key words, key ideas that come to mind, and I want you to deliver them exactly as you hear them, and then expand on them. Create a more complete picture with the imagery on the card, the sensations you're having, etc. But you will never know how right and how specific you can get if you never take the chance to deliver your first instincts to begin with. It's trial and error. Sometimes I felt stupid because I'm like, man, I told her that I saw her moving to Washington, but she said it didn't resonate, but I heard it so clearly. A month later, she'll be like, bitch, I got this opportunity in Washington. I had no idea at the time of your reading, but you called it. And I'm like, oh, yay. Like, I was a month ahead of time. And that's where the psychic comes in. So again, even if it doesn't make sense to you, even if it doesn't make sense to the person in front of you, deliver it because it came for a reason. Period. All right. If y'all are still here in the chat, I don't want to lecture you guys. I want this to be interactive. So send me an emoji if you've struggled through what is my imagination versus what is my intuition telling me. Hit me with an emoji if you've been through that problem. I'm gonna raise my hand. That's my emoji for you guys, and I'm gonna sip this water. My girl Sarah, my girl Araceli. All right, so let's discuss that. I'm gonna let you guys in on one of my biggest tarot secrets. I think it might even extend beyond tarot. I think this is one of the long held secrets of the universe, to be completely honest, and it's gonna blow your fucking mind. Here we go. Here's how to tell the difference between imagination and intuition. And it ties into what I just said of intuition doesn't come from you. I'll tell you why. It's so well written, I want to read it just as it is. Your intuition will always be your highest feeling, your highest thought, your highest idea, highest sensation. It will also be the clearest. This is how you know it is from spirit, because it is love and it tastes like truth on your tongue before you deliver it. This is why meditation is important, to learn your normal thought patterns and quickly identify the highest, clearest, most loving, most joyful, most certain ones as those of God and the fluid of intuition. Let's expand on that. When you're reading for a client or for yourself, the message that you feel the most confident about, even if it's just one word and you're like, I heard abandonment. Talk yourself into expanding on that a little bit, because most of the time God's just going to take over and like you're going to drop wisdom that you don't even know. Like you're going to be like, what the fuck? Like I've never been through this. I have no idea, but it came. The way to identify imagination versus intuition is that your intuition will always be the clearest. You will always feel the most confident, and it will always be the loudest and the first. It will be so crystal clear. That is how you know that that is what you need to be delivering. Anything else that comes after that you're a little clumsy, a little unsure, it's 100% permissible to just work through it with your client. Just be like, I don't know if this means something to you, but here's what I saw, or here's what I heard to expand on that, etc., etc. But that first line, that first sensation, that is intuition, because it's always going to be the clearest and the most helpful. I know I said the most joyful, but it's the most helpful, the most direct sign of help, because that's what we're doing with tarot. We're trying to help. So the most helpful message, that's the one that comes from God. That is the one that is your intuition. Again, that applies to the tarot, but that can apply to a lot more things in your life. The highest idea you have of yourself, that's the person you need to be every day, or at least strive to be. All right. Imagination. Let's define that a little bit. Imagination is where your creative passions and dreams are formed. That's what I defined it as, but I kind of want to sit and marinate in the energy for a moment before I deliver this next banger, because it's going to change you. We discussed what intuition is and how to decipher, how to use our discernment between imagination and intuition. Intuition being the highest possible idea, the highest possible message that comes through. And imagination is where our creativity and our passions and our individual insights as a person come in. There isn't one above the other. And I need you guys to really sit on that. Imagination, just because you imagined a message, doesn't mean that it's not intuitive, and it doesn't mean that it's not just as valid as the first message that you heard. Okay? Because what kind of God have we been taught to believe in if we think of him to be all powerful, but at the same time not be powerful enough to also use our imagination as an intuitive tool? Now we're branching off into a more spiritual and philosophical concept that I can spend hours talking about. But when it comes to relating it to tarot, do not resent your imagination. Your imagination is just as much of a tool as your intuition is. Your intuition, I would call, is like the banger. It's like the banger where you're like, hell yeah, I'm confident. Your imagination is what fills in the details. And imagination, sometimes I get like a random song where it's like Hawaiian roller coaster ride from Lilo and Stitch. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's very easy for me to pass that off as just a random thought that came into my head and imagination. But I choose to deliver it. And I'm like, hey, I just heard Hawaiian roller coaster ride. And the client will literally bawl because they're like, that's the song that got me through my days in middle school or whatever. I'm so glad you heard it because I'm going through it and I really need to feel happy again. And I'm like, nice. And because of that, people hype me up a lot. People hype me up a lot on the internet, and they're just like, oh my gosh, you're gonna Spice the tarot legend. And I don't think that there's anything legendary at all about that, about the fact that I just take a risk and I'm just like, hey, I heard this and I know it could be my imagination. I know it could even just be a me thing that like that song got stuck in my head at this moment for whatever reason, but I'm gonna share it with you anyway. I don't think there's ever been a time in which I've taken the chance, I've taken the risk and been like, hey, I just saw Lion King, the circle of life in my head. Like, if that means something to you. I've never taken that risk and have it blown up in my face and be like, no, you're completely wrong. Ever. Not. I've been doing tarot for almost a year. Next month it'll be a year. Not one single time has it ever failed me. So when I say that your imagination, the shit you be seeing in your head that is really easy to dismiss and get rid of as your imagination is an intuitive tool. I don't know who told you guys that intuition was more reliable than imagination, or that imagination was wrong and not to be relied on when it comes to intuitive work, because that's total bullshit. And what separates the great from the mediocre is your ability to integrate both of these things and use them to complete a whole picture that really is designed to elevate your client from who they were when they walked in to leaving with more clarity, with more hope than anything else, and with a feeling of truth, of certainty, that they're like, okay, I got this now. That's it. That's the whole lesson, to be completely honest. Like, if y'all can walk away with that knowledge integrated deeply, profoundly into your spirit, mind, into your emotions, I promise you, you will go further in this life, not just with tarot, with anything that you want, with anything, any road that you decide to take on, whether it be creative or financial. I promise you, you will go further than the people around you that don't have this information, to be honest. So how do you guys feel about that? Because I know it might be brand new information for some of you. But yeah. There's no reason to resent or move away from imagination. If anything, invite your imagination to come in clutch, and just go off on your reading. But yeah, tell me what your thoughts are on that. I wanna make this interactive. I wanna know what part of you struggles to believe that, or did something click in your head where you're like, holy shit, you're right. Either way, let me know. Meanwhile, I'm gonna keep reading from my notes. Yeah, there is nothing wrong with using imagination in your tarot readings. God can use both of these tools to form a more complete message of truth for yourself and your client. Neither is more right nor more appropriate than the other. A masterful tarot reader can use both tools to fully construct the intended message. That's a great summary of the rant that I just went on. Wow, past me, always looking out for future me. So yeah, tell me, don't be shy. Like, get on the chat and tell me how you feel about, the notion of imagination and intuition being completely valid and equals in the intuitive experience. Something did click. I've been getting the messages in both visual and just words coming from my ways saying to stop resisting. You're right. I'm thinking about things I've said that I thought were nonsense but resonated with the person. But also sometimes I'm wondering if it's really my imagination. If it is your imagination, it doesn't mean it's not intended for the person. That's what I'm trying to get at here. Even if it is your imagination, it doesn't mean that it's not intended as a message to the person that you're reading for. It's all connected. Even in the total absence of intuition, your imagination could absolutely take over and complete the picture for you. That's what I'm saying, is that it's, you don't have to strive for one or the other. You don't even have to concern yourself all the time with using discernment. You can use both. And while you were speaking, the Tower in reverse fell onto my lap from my deck, and it felt like that was what I really, really need to sink in. Yeah, the Tower reversed. I just blew your mind. Your readings are going to change forever now. Because now you're not going to be afraid of your imagination stepping into the reading. You're going to welcome it. You're going to be like, give me more. Like, help me see. Help me feel what I need to feel. What am I imagining? The other day, for my client, as I was reading for her, I was trying to give her this very message, actually, of surrender and not having to know the answer all the time and really trusting herself. That was something key that she needed to hear for her journey. And my mind just kind of trailed off into the scene from Titanic, where Jack wins the tickets onto the Titanic, and he didn't go back home to pack. He literally just grabbed his shit, grabbed his best friend. He was like, we'll figure it the fuck out, just get on the boat. And he got on the boat. I could have not told her and just kept that to myself, but instead I was like, hey, I just saw in my head blah 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 blah. And she was like, that completely, now I understand, because everything was sounding like mumbo jumbo, but when you gave me a visual example that I've already seen before, and I saw the art of surrender in practice, now I understand what Spirit is asking of me. And I was like, yeah, there, it made it, I made it make sense in a way that she understood it, because the way I was articulating it before was kind of sounding like spiritual mumbo jumbo. So she wasn't really ready to receive the message in that way. So Spirit, my imagination, helped me out and gave me an alternative. So again, don't be afraid of your imagination. Invite your imagination. Just be like, I'm not getting it. Give me something else. You will get something else, I promise. Or rather, is there a line between imagination and overanalyzing, if that makes sense? Kind of like, I saw this cartoon, but then your mind trails off and it's really your association to the cartoon. No. I'm gonna say no very confidently, because so long as, again, you're praying before your readings, so long as you maintain a consistent meditative practice, I want you guys to think of your tarot reading as like a thought bubble. I've been watching Avatar, so I'm thinking of like the air bending bubble, and I'm just like, yes. I want you guys to think of your client and your deck in a bubble. Nothing is going to come through that is not for the highest benefit of yourself and your client. Period. If the message applies to you, great, share it. Your client will probably be thrilled. Likewise, you might find some truth in it, but it's intended for your client. So I'm going to say that no, there is no danger of overanalyzing. There is no risk of you digging so far that you start to make shit up. I don't think that's possible with tarot, especially when you pray ahead of time to take your own self-centeredness out. Because I shared my prayer for you guys in the first class. That's a real thing I do. I'm like, before I start my day, because I'm at a certain point where I don't like have to pray or meditate before every reading, because I stay meditating, you know what I mean, like hours of my day. But something I do, especially like today when I have a really active day, I always say, please protect me from my own ego. Please protect me from my own self-centeredness. I don't have to be the center of every tarot reading. Just please allow me to be a conduit of divine love and guidance, so that I can really deliver the intended messages as intended to my client. So by setting that intention, because again, this is intuitive work, intent is everything. By setting that intention, there is nothing that is going to pierce that bubble that is not for the highest benefit of you and for your client. And this is the part where trust and surrender comes in from. You have to trust that. You have to trust that what I'm saying is true. And the only way you'll grow to trust it is by practicing and applying it again and again and again and again. Like I said, it's terrifying the first couple times. And the first couple times I got really in my feelings as a tarot reader because I was like, oh, I shouldn't have told her that because now she thinks I'm a phony, you know, but they come back. They come back a month after the reading and they're like, I can't believe you fucking called it. And I'm just like, I can't believe I fucking called it because I didn't. Spirit called it. Spirit gave the intended message. So yes, there is no danger of overanalyzing it. You just got to trust yourself and you got to trust that what I'm saying is true. Give me the benefit of the doubt. Really go for it in your next reading, which we're about to do right now because I'm going to ask you guys as an exercise to pull cards. You can't be wrong. You can't fail. It's just not real. Especially when you set the intention that you're only accepting messages that are designed for the highest benefit of your client. Period. So I know it's uncomfortable because we live our whole lives being told that we're wrong. We live our whole lives being told we're not enough, that our talents are too soft, that we need more hard skills, or, you know, that we're not intuitive enough, or that being intuitive is devil work or whatever. We know what's wrong with us at this point. Now I need y'all to do the internal work, the shadow work, to accept that you can always be right every time. Because you have help. I fuck up all the time in my own personal life, but when it comes to tarot, I know my shit because it is not coming from me. I'm just like the little alien receiver, and it just flows through me. And all I did was get rid of the obstacles that were impeding me from receiving the message fully. You know what I mean? When I started tarot, I kind of got bits and pieces, and I was like, all right, okay. So the more I removed, the more it just flowed like water through me. And now if I can go off for hours with tarot if y'all let me, so don't let me. Great. Now that we've discussed that as a broader concept, I want y'all to take your tarot deck and let me see what, okay, so what you're gonna do is I want you guys to pull a card and I want you guys to ask, what does my imagination want to show me about the card? And then for that same card, you're going to ask, what does my intuition want to say about the card? And discuss, are they different, are they similar, etc., etc. So I'm gonna do it with you guys. Spirit, give me a card. Any card, I don't care. Give me a card of guidance for my class today. What can I do to be a better tarot teacher today? One card, what can I do to be a better tarot teacher today? All right, before I turn it over, what does my imagination want to show me through this card? What does my intuition want to say? I have mine. You ladies, take your time. Make note. Are they different? Are they similar? Where did your eyes go immediately? I wonder if we got the same cards. Let me know what card you guys got. Or if you got two. Intuition, a card of happiness. Before I flipped it over, imagination, focused on one aspect of the card that expanded on the intuitive hunch, kind of like it made it a story. Ten of Pentacles. Okay. So your intuition was like, it's a card of happiness. And then you turned it over and it's like, I'm rich. That's great. You got the Emperor reversed. Okay. What did your intuition and imagination say about it? Three of Pentacles. That's a good one too. Oh, the Three of Pentacles. Mwah. I love that fucking card. I feel like that's like a very Gemini card. Maybe that's why I stand so hard. Feel free to share. Feel free to share. Come on. Get in on it. Your imagination was a lazy man sitting barking orders. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I can definitely see a couple energies that would match the Emperor reversed. Yes. That's funny. I like your imagination going, like, bringing it, you know, kind of into like a funny sphere. That's awesome. And in the length of this class, I am never going to tell you that you're wrong. So you might as well give me your whole interpretation with your whole chest, because I'm going to be like, yes. But I'll tell you why. It makes sense. Intuition said that he was cruel and just too controlling. Okay, so yours were very similar. And for Sarah, hers were very similar as well. I'm waiting for Kinsey. But you see how when they're similar, they're also complementary. It painted a more complete picture. Like for Sarah, before she flipped the card over, she was like, this is going to be a happy card. And when she turned it over, it was the Ten of Pentacles, which is about abundance, a circle of completion, stability, the things that make humans happy. No, you know, like knowing you're okay makes you really happy. And that really painted a more complete picture. Now when she reads the Ten of Pentacles, she can pay attention to the intuitive feeling first and say, okay, the Ten of Pentacles is telling you financial stability is coming or something. Versus had her intuition said, this is a card of struggle, and she turns it over and it's the Ten of Pentacles, that the Ten of Pentacles can be a negative juju card in a way that somebody is too stuck on financial stability, not paying enough attention to their mental, emotional health, their families, etc., etc. So it's all complementary. It's all congruent. I was intuiting that it connected to us all doing this together, and then I was looking at it and seeing the image and imagining that we're all doing something different, but it all works together. And I just talked about congruency and cohesiveness. Yes, we all have individual styles as readers. We all have different insights because we've all lived a different human experience. But the message is going to come through one way or another, and the message will always be the same. I had a friend, I'll share a little bit, an anecdote here to illustrate what I'm talking about. I had a friend that's a little bit of a skeptic when it comes to the occult. And I'm like, girl, how are you going to hang out with me? How are we going to be close if you like don't understand what's going on, the things that I do here? So I asked her. I was like, I asked something super petty. I was like, I'm talking to this guy anyway. I was like, I asked this deck actually. I was like, describe my next sexual partner. Did my shuffle, got the Knight of Swords. And I was like, boom, there you go, Libra mans. I picked up a separate deck from like the other side of my room, and I shuffled it, and I was like, please describe my next sexual partner. Same card, the Knight of Swords. And she was like, bitch. And I was like, yeah, girl, like, I will always get the same answer no matter what tool I use, whether it's numerology, whether it's my imagination, my intuition. If I'm throwing bones on the fucking sand, the message that is intended will always be delivered. And I need you guys to trust that. I need you to trust yourself to be the deliverer. And let this fear of being wrong, of it not resonating, of not being accurate or specific enough, let it go. Because the intended message will always be delivered if you trust yourself to be the deliverer. So I'll share mine. I got the Justice card, which is the whole traditional meaning of this card is literally like discernment between what requires action and what requires divine intervention, surrender, what we're talking about. So my question was, give me a card of advice of what I need to do to be a better tarot teacher today. My imagination automatically showed me the scales. It showed me, like, I didn't look at the girl or anything at all. I noticed the scales. So to me, what that meant, my imagination took me to a place where I was like, I gotta help them figure out how to integrate this information, not just know it. I gotta help them figure out how to best apply it. And my intuition was yeah, it was literally, my intuition was like, you need to make it practical. Like, how do they get it, they get the concept, but now how do they make it make sense in their real life? So let's talk about that. How do we make it make sense in our real life? Great. Did I put any notes on that? Okay, well, first of all, we just proved it with the card. Oh, there, the Eight of Swords is out here. Oh, hell no. Better not come for me. Anyway, we just proved it. We just proved the validity of the statement that even though the ideas or the messages that we received from our imagination versus our intuition were a little different, but not different enough to be contradictory. We just proved the validity of the statement that it's congruent, that it works together. They don't work against each other. Neither of them is right or wrong at all. So we just proved it. First of all, there, confirmed. I'm not crazy. This actually works. Second, sorry, I lost my place. Okay. Practical application means, just like I talked about in the first class, about you can only receive the amount of information that you give to spirit, which makes total sense why I'm super hyped for being super specific and never wrong, because I be telling God everything. I tell God everything. Like, I'm in my car driving back to my parents' hometown for like 2-3 hours without no radio on and just going off on spirit. I'm like, yo, on fucking Tuesday, blah 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 blah. I tell everything, and so spirit tells me everything I want to know, because we have that direct, like, we got it like that, like, we're close, we're tight now, you know what I mean? Likewise with trust and surrender, be willing to play with spirit. Yesterday I was in the Akashic Records and I was like, look, all of this information I'm getting seems a little too good to be true. How do I know that this isn't self-suggestion? Which is what you guys are asking. You're not scared of your imagination. You're scared of self-suggestion. So again, I was like, how do I know this isn't just self-suggestion and I'm telling myself what I want to hear? And the Akashic Records were like, we'll show you. What do you want to know? What do you want us to do to show you? And I was burning a candle at the time and I was like, I want that flame to grow taller. And it did. And I was like, bitch. Like, I was like, I'm a fucking firebender now. So make it a game. Have fun. This spiritual journey really doesn't have to be that serious. Like, you can play games. You know what I mean? With spirit, just be like, all right, look, if this isn't self-suggestion and you 100% are standing by the intended message, let me see the sun card. I want to see the sun card so that I know that I'm on the right track with this message. And sometimes when a person is really repressed and they're like really apprehensive about getting their cards read, and I can't really dig in the way I usually, you know, to the standard I usually perform at, I'll still sneak do it in my readings. I'll be like, all right, I'll literally telepathically in my head be like, all right, here's what I understood from the cards. Is that what you want me to tell her? And then I'll pull a card and boom, sun card right out, and I'm like, eh. And then I go off with my whole chest. Do that. Play games with spirit. Ask spirit to confirm from you. It doesn't make you any less of a capable tarot reader. If anything, it makes you a more careful and considerate tarot reader. To, if you feel any inkling of doubt, to trust that and be like, look, clearly I don't have this trust and surrender thing all the way down yet. Can you please just send me confirmation that I'm on the right track? Or the opposite. Send me the death card if I gotta pull again because I fucked up the first time. Do that. Play games. And I literally have a note that says here, it is perfectly all right to ask for clarification or a sign from your deck that you are on the right track before delivering the message. There are too many tarot readers that, like, for lack of a better word, they have so much ego involved in their reading that they would rather die than be wrong, or, you know, they'd rather deliver a vague or traditional card message that doesn't really speak